Hello everyone and welcome to the Deeply Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deeply Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 334. Today is Saturday, September 12th, 2020, and I'm glad you could join me today. It is, it's been a very strange week this week. It's been on like the national news and the world news. It would be like, it's never a good feeling when your city ends up in the New York Times. But due to the wildfires, a massive amount of smoke got caught between the ground and space and blocked out the sun Wednesday. It was, or would it be, like, that was pretty ridiculous. So because of the fog, the air quality was actually pretty good. Now it is sunny and looks foggy, but isn't. What would it be? There is, the air quality isn't very good right now. But that day when the sun didn't shine, it was 3 times better than now. Oh well, who knows. So I tried to take some pictures for Instagram to capture how surreal everything was, but it was dark as night with creepy orange glow, because the smoke had absorbed all of the other colors. So do not recommend. This means that I'll be staying inside for the foreseeable future until things start to improve a little bit, but we shall see. It's pandemic on, so it doesn't really matter. But it was the case where, what would it be? But it was just a very strange and surreal experience. So I don't know if I'm wearing orange in solidarity for that, but what would it be? And my heart definitely goes out to the people who are in danger of the wildfires that are happening right now in the West. I do not feel super optimistic that would it be, at least my local experience is going to be super nice. But at the very least, worth commenting about, because that was the biggest excitement this week, like grocery shopping. Oh well, such is life. So let's see, what is, I'm checking to see if I need to pull anything out, but I think we're pretty good. It hasn't been, or would it be? I have been working diligently on my Mesa sweater wrap. And this is because, what would it be? Part of this is because I can time some knit-alongs pretty well if I wait to cast on the 15th of September. I do believe, roughly speaking. And this is reminding me that I probably should have quick reference the directions, but I probably forgot to reference the directions because I got distracted on my phone and didn't go check the pattern again. Hey, no big deal. And I think this is actually going to show pretty nice. The light appears to be pretty darn good. So this is my Mesa sweater wrap so far. You can see, I think you can even see, oh wait, maybe that's just based on what's in the background. I don't know. So this is teal on the bottom and blue on the top. And I'm actually working my 3rd and 4th color right now. Because last week I was super excited to have finished the 2nd. So I've actually made quite a lot of progress on this week. So here is my progress keeper, and I have, let's see if I can, yeah. So I've probably knit about a third of this week while I've been monogamous on it. Yeah. Alas. So I did manage to actually get a lot of progress done on this week. So what would it be? So here is where I ran out of color 1. I pretty quickly ran out of color 2 here, and right now I'm working on 3 and 4. So that is blue, 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 and blue, blue, teal. So I still have quite a lot of blue, blue, teal to go. Blue, blue, teal is very fine. When I was working on the single color section of teal, teal, blue, I managed to get 7 rows in, or whatever, 7 back and forths in with that one. I managed to do 11. I probably could have done 13 with this color. It just turned out to be way finer, or maybe my method is better refined. Who knows? I'm not sure if what ended up happening was that I only got halfway through teal, teal, teal before starting teal, teal, blue, and so then I had way more rows of alternating stripes, which then meant that my single color section of that one, or the single color section, was much shorter. I don't know, it's interesting. So what would it be? These are probably my favorite colors of the sequence. I don't think that I'm going to lose momentum on the project, if that makes any sense, getting out of those colors. Like, it was very, very exciting to see how much progress I managed to do this week. So I'll have to weigh and figure out about where I'm standing in terms of yarn usage, just so I sort of know what's going on. But I did, and maybe you can, oh, it's really hard to see that little marker there, but I put in markers when I started the sleeve increases, so I'm now getting very close to recovering progress there, which is good. I started the sleeves a little bit earlier on the past iteration, but now I'm like, you know, it'll be fine, it'll be calm, no big deal, and so far so good. So things are going well on that project. Like, I don't know where my mind went there, whatever. It's been, I think because of all the smoke, my sleep has been very disturbed. And maybe the long weekend also resulted in me being very oh, there was other stuff that happened. This was more exciting than just smoke this weekend, guys. But I think I went off on a brain tangent being like, I will be casting on this pair of socks on the 15th because it lines up with a lot of knit-alongs. So everything is ready to go. Needles, double points, pattern. Well, I didn't print the pattern, but this is not a pattern that this isn't the type of pattern that I need to print. But I ended up getting Hey Brown Berries now in neck socks because I do love a good top-down pattern. And I'm thinking that I can, or whatever, if I do decide to end up doing the graft that she has in the bottom, that would count for Bay Area Fiber Fair as long, in addition to whatever else I come up with, no big deal. But this is my opposing ply plied twice yarn. It is Southern Cross Fibers in the Desert Rose colorway. And I have taken absolutely terrible photos of it in the past. Like, this project, I think, was probably like my worst photograph spinning project ever. Yeah. Sort of like how my On the Spice Market is probably one of my worst photograph knitting projects. Certainly since joining Instagram and the like. So had a chance to look through that pattern. It's very detailed, it has lots of really good information in it. And so I think that the hand spun is going to work up really nicely in the texture pattern that's in it, so that's cool. And this is my sock bag from Coyote, because what would it be? This was like a truly wonderful gift from her. So it's my favorite. Or would it be it's just got it all, which is good. It is nerdy and blue and perfect for socks, and life continues on. So that'll be going on the needle soon. Another hand spun project. I'm definitely feeling the call of socks. And what would it be? And it'd be the case. Like, my problem, like, what would it be? Got a lot of work done working monogamously on a project, but Mesa sweater wrap requires very specific stimulation for me to knit. It's like a little bit too boring for knit night. What would it be? And like, I don't have a whole lot going on at the moment, so what would it be? Like, it's great movie knitting, as long as I'm not in a section where I need to weigh the ball, as you do. So it's sort of the case where I need to have two balls, one ball big, one ball small, and then I can identify the two in the dark. And don't need a lot of light to work on that particular project. And movies are engaging enough that I can happily knit upon it, no big deal. I'm doing fine watching knitting podcasts while working on it, but also mixing it up with a little bit of spinning. But would it be? Like, I sort of like being able to switch back and forth. So hopefully I can, whatever, I have a few more days to put on like a really good burn in terms of progress on this. And then whatever, it can go back to being whatever, a part of a rotation instead of a monogamous effort. As you do. On the spinning front, so when I recorded the podcast, I believe it was the case where I was getting ready to go to the beach, which was lovely. There was a bus there called the Wool Bus that was having like a mini Burning Man on Ocean Beach in San Francisco. I don't think it was specifically related, like, I don't know why they called it the Wool Bus. Maybe that is what it used to be in the past, but now DJs were just playing random music. We managed to skirt the crowd because they were not being safe. And it was the case where it was like a little bit hot that day, but it was like super cool and nice by the beach. So I was like, oh, this is pleasant. I was like working in my sweater and it was like draped across my lap, and it was just that little bit of extra warmth because it was warm when we went to the beach and then it was cold by the time we left. So I was in fact unprepared for the horror. Like, I don't know, like, my mom grew up in hot places without air conditioning, but me, I have not had that experience before, and it doesn't happen very often. It is normally 57 here. Like, the furnace is on right now. It may not act, what would it be? It may not be running right now because the sunshine does actually warm up the house quite a bit, but it was mid-90s on Sunday and Monday. That was not good. And all of that heat translated to worsening wildfires, which resulted in the sun getting blocked out on Wednesday. So, oh my gosh. I have a giant box fan in here because this is the best room for airflow throughout the house. So I put a box fan in the window and I sat on the bed and the air rushed across me as it was going from the sea to the big hill. But man, it was hot. And so my sleep got super disturbed because I couldn't fall asleep Sunday night until it, I don't know, probably got below 85 in the house. Like, oh. So it doesn't happen very often. What would it be? Fans are pretty crucial. And it didn't help that for whatever reason we ended up staying up super late the night before. So by the time we should have closed up the house to prevent the hot air from getting in, it was too late. We were just committed to having the windows open for the rest of the day. So I think there are going to be a couple of more splurts like this where they're just occasional stupidly hot days. And I can't escape it because my husband, for example, doesn't even have an office at the moment. I, on the other hand, can go to the office, but my office is also not air conditioned, so it doesn't matter. There is like a portable air conditioner, but that's not the thing that makes money, so. But not pointed directly at it. Oh, shenanigans. So, while all of this fanning was occurring, I was spinning and plying on this because it was hot. It was hot. So this is my Nest Fiber Studio in something wicked and wabi-sabi that I ended up splitting up and drum carding into a gradient. So this is what we got. It is very muted. These are much more muted colors than I would normally go for. What would it be? And I think some of this is a consequence of how I decided to handle the fiber itself. So because I blended it, you end up getting things from the opposite end of the color wheel mixing together, and that's what's making sort of this more gray tone that you're seeing, in addition to one of the fibers having explicitly gray in it. What would it be? But because the orange was actually fairly pure, that ends up being sort of a more bright color, as you do. So we got the orange and blue going on today. So this ended up being like 889 yards out of 8 ounces, which means that I actually did succeed in making a 2-ply fingering. Oh my gosh. And it didn't take very long either, because it was merely a 2-ply fingering. Super refreshing. So, I don't know. There's occasional moments of brightness going on here. So you can see there are two different shades of blue, but they're fairly similar to each other. One of them is more teal, and one of them is maybe a little bit more gray. And then the orange and brown are fairly distinct from each other. And then where I blended the you end up getting like a nice little 2-ply barber pole in places. I did end up having somewhat asymmetric skeins, but because I weighted one end to be more brown and one end to be more blue, this wasn't actually a big deal because I just handy applied the blue on blue. So in that regard, the gradient ended up working fairly well that way because it wasn't like I was missing representation from various colors. I'm trying to see if I can show you. Would it be not my usual colors, but I think it did end up turning out really pretty. What would it be? I was contemplating joining it up with another one of my skeins, but because this is actually fingering, and the other one is probably somewhere between a worsted to bulkhead, like. And because the colors were much more brighter in that one, it was like, yeah, this one, like adding this one. Or would it be cheese makes salad better, but salad doesn't make cheese better? What would it be? So that whatever, that other skein persists without a clear plan. But it did end up working out really nice. I had to concentrate while I was spinning this in order to make sure that I didn't accidentally end up being too fine. But I think part of what tricked me was that it was more of a woolen prep. So because I was spinning from bats, it was easier to spin thick than spinning from a braid, because with the braid you can really get down to not a lot of fibers in your hand as you're going, as you do. It may be the case where it's going to be a little bit interesting applying the bobbin I'm working on right now, because what would it be? Yeah, whatever. We'll get to that in a moment. But what would it be? So this is done. This is cool. I'm actually contemplating doing an Elizabeth Freeman pattern with this one. So she hasn't made a new pattern in years, which is a pity, because her work is absolutely gorgeous. She only publishes in Knitty. She is a scientist and loves Estonian lace. And I have knit all of her patterns but the Torrey Pine. So I'm thinking that this would end up making a really, really gorgeous Torrey Pine shawl, because then that's going to really highlight, or that triangle shape is really going to highlight the gradient in a beautiful way. So it should be cool. Or would it be? I'm thinking that what I would have ended up doing differently is I think I would have actually alternated the colors differently. So I think I would have wanted to, what I maybe would have done differently was done darker blue, brown, lighter blue, then orange, or something like that. Mostly just because I think I found it to be much more visually interesting, mixing the bats that ended up being a little bit further apart. Like, you can maybe see by that strand, like, there just isn't a whole lot of contrast sort of in this blue end, but there is much more contrast in places where you had like a little bit better mixing. And my staggered gradient was like a pretty good idea, but didn't perfectly work because I definitely didn't have a lot of color mixing in my blue and orange bridge. They ended up lining up fairly well in that section, but I did manage to get pretty good mixing and softening in all of the other places. I think I was just spinning. One I spun a little thicker, one I spun a little thinner, and they just ended up synchronizing for a bit before becoming less synchronized later on. So, oh well, such is life. So, but I think that would have ended up being a little bit more fun than this. And part of this just has to do, sorry, there's like my hair everywhere. So, what would it be? So, it's not that I'm unhappy, I just am like, I wonder if I did it that way, if that would have been cool. So, and I'm just so happy that I didn't spin frog hair. This was the palette cleanser that I needed. So this was the last game for the Feather Your Nest Challenge. I did end up taking a group shot of all of the skeins. I probably needed to actually figure out like a better soft lighting situation in order to properly capture it, but should be good. And now I need to figure out a place to stash this skein. I'll figure something out. It isn't like I've seemingly opened up a ton of space amongst what would it be? It doesn't seem like I've opened up a ton of space in the stash, despite doing like a focused effort on spinning, my fiber up. I'm explicitly using my hand spun. I did do a slight stash rearrange. So I have my sweater quantities here. Then this is my fingering weight for shawls. This is my fingering weight for socks. All of my Wollmeise lace and some of my thicker stuff. All of my Wollmeise fingering. And then these two that are directly behind the chair are now hand spun. And then the entire bottom row is fiber. So, for some reason I managed to squish the fiber a little bit more efficiently. Oh well. It seemed like when I packed this stash, the fiber ended up being 2.5 of the 4 boxes, so whatever, such is life. And then, what would it be? There is a little bit of fiber up here and behind there. And then I do have a sweater quantity that is not with the other sweater quantities. Oh, such is life. And then I do believe what's going to end up happening is targeting a lot of the fiber in these boxes. Just because I think, whatever, that's the direction I'm pointing at the moment, is sort of continuing to debulk. So maybe it was the case where the fiber took up way more volume because it's not in, it's not all in cubbies. And there's a fleece that you can't even see up there. Such is life. So, I have been working on my sweater spin. So this is Through Otter's Farm Finn in the background blue that I am attempting to spin as a 3-ply fingering weight. I'm probably much closer now than what I was earlier, which is probably fine. So this is the blue, and this is, I think, coming out as a fairly true color representation. When I was taking photos earlier today, it was not turning out the way I was expecting it. So there's some of this that is more gray. There's some lighter sections, and then there is this sapphire that, the sapphire is definitely my favorite amongst it. But yeah, what would it be? You have to have a lot of words for all of the different shades of blue. Okay. I did not plan this out as well as I was hoping. So you can see sort of, or would it be? So it'd be the case where the overall impression would be, what would it be? There's a lot of this lighter and darker and not as much of the medium. But this is coming out about to be the right color. I guess all this smoke is resulting in the diffuse light I need for good photos. So, what would it be? I don't know if I'm actually spinning a little bit too thick at the moment. It might just be that my entire sense and perception is off because what would it be after spinning so fine for so long? I need to get out of that rut. But I'm trying to not be as ridiculously fine as what I was before. So the goal is 3-ply fingering, and what I will probably end up doing tomorrow sometime is actually sitting down and carding bats for the other two things. Just because I don't want to have really obvious striping. I'm going to have some striping that comes from that, from just spinning it straight from the braid. But I'm thinking of carding these to mix it up quite a bit. I've been doing rude things to this bag. So, leather spine, background blue, fin. So, not too crazy. You can definitely see, I think, a little bit better the colors that are going on here. So, for some reason the lighter just doesn't seem as obvious. But I'm gonna make this into 4 bats and go from there. Like, it should be able to do up to 3 ounces, but things stop feeding nicely at some point, and perhaps is the case where the only way to get the 3-ounce bat is to use the metal brush, and I would rather not. So that is the status there. What would it be? In trials with spin, what would it be? Hopefully it's not too crazy, because I had initially started this spin towards the end of June. So it was a part of my Tour de Fleece in which I had specified that I was working on it, then realized I couldn't start the nest before then, and life continues on. Oh well. So I think by blending it, that will make the overall impression of it much less stripy, and I didn't want to split it a lot, because that can also inadvertently make me spin very fine. So shouldn't be too crazy. But what would it be? I'm spinning for a hinterland. In August, I ended up doing the contrast color for the yoke by making something that looked a lot like Spin Cycle, and this is just going to be a semi-solid blue handspun to make up most of the sweater itself. And I'm trying to avoid accidentally spinning 3-ply lace weight, because I'd rather it just be fingering. So that's where I am. There is what it be. I probably left it when I had about 2 ounces. I've probably spun about 1 ounce this week. As you can tell by my knitting progress, I've mostly been knitting. As you do. So, let's see. Any other things? Can't think of other things right now. Aside from my, like, strange desire to knit a poncho. It hasn't occurred to me, like, I have an idea about the yarns. But what I do not have an idea about is the pattern. That's not making sense. So it may never become, but it just be the case where I don't even know, like, if I had a bright red poncho, would I even wear it? Oh well. Such is life. So I think that's everything this week. I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys again next week. So take care, guys. Bye bye.